The Big Ten's lofty college football rankings all season long were well-deserved. Ohio State's and Penn State's performances this past weekend in the college football playoffs proved everything. And the Ducks deserve their number one ranking as well. So all the critics from the other conferences, I'm talking to you, SEC and Big 12 guy, you can all pipe down. I'm going to prove everything. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So the Big Ten is just better, right? I'm talking to you, SEC and Big 12 guy. Bowl games. We got Rutgers, USC, and Nebraska all in the next couple of days, including today with one of them. And we'll have our weekend Big Ten classics we'll share with you. But let's get started with this. There was a lot of whining from SEC and Big 12 people this year about how they were all better than the Big 10, or it wasn't fair. They were getting so many teams projected to be in the college football playoffs and all that. The Big 10 overrated. Heard it all season long. So I got to ask you, how come all season long Big 10 teams occupied the upper echelon of the AP Top 25 and college football playoff rankings in the polls? Because the Big 10 is better. That's why. You know, the complaining continued when people said the SEC should get 4 teams in the playoffs. People said they should get 5 teams in the playoffs because they're so good and they knock each other off. All that woe is me stuff. Yeah, they said 5 teams. Alabama and Ole Miss people, just to name a few. You know who I'm talking about. I heard a lot of that, hey, how can the Big Ten get 4 teams in the playoffs while the SEC is the one that deserves 4 and 5? Again, because the Big Ten is better. That's why. To a lesser extent, Big 12 people are the same way. Commissioner Brett Yormark, he had to do a lot of politicking to make sure that Arizona State got a bye or that they got 2 teams in the playoffs. You heard it all. And my philosophy is if you have to do a lot of politicking, maybe you're not that good. Just my lifelong experience tells me that. So we'll see how things go against Texas in the Peach Bowl. We'll just lay it out there. We'll come back and visit to it later. But if you still don't believe me that the Big Ten is just better, look no further than Exhibit A, the Oregon Ducks' undefeated season. They beat a very good 4th-ranked Penn State team in an all-hands-on-deck game at a neutral site in the Big Ten Championship. They're good, no doubt about it. They beat Washington, a bowl team, by 4 touchdowns. They went into one of the toughest stadiums in America at the Big House in Ann Arbor and beat Michigan. Sure, Michigan's down this year. I get it. But they still beat them by 21 at their place. That's something, in my opinion. Illinois was a top 20 team. They came into Autzen Stadium and lost by 29 points. They beat perhaps the best roster in America, Ohio State, by a point at home. Getting ready for the rematch, by the way. They beat another playoff team, Boise State, back in September. So you are what your resume says you are, and the Ducks are undefeated, and they clearly earned their number 1 ranking as the best team in college football this regular season. It's undeniable. The Big Ten's just better. I'll go to Exhibit B if I have to. Did you by chance catch the Ohio State game last Saturday against Tennessee in the college football playoff? I did. This should put to bed any Big Ten versus SEC arguments. The Big Ten's 3rd place team just destroyed the mighty SEC's 3rd place team by 25 points. Granted, the game was in Columbus. I'll give you that. But even Vegas only gives you about 3 points for home field advantage. And this game was over by the first quarter. It really was. It looked like a scrimmage for the Buckeyes. They did whatever they wanted all night long. And, you know, here's a news flash. If anybody thinks Jalen Milroe and Alabama would have come into the horseshoe and done better, I'll remind you that Alabama team went into Oklahoma, not a very good team, and only scored 3 points. They would have got blown off. They would have their wheels blown off as well. There's Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin, who I like, by the way. I'm amused by him. He provides great material for us in the media. He was pretty vocal in his criticism about the SEC getting shorted by the playoff committee selections. Haven't heard a peep out of the Lane train since the Tennessee debacle on Saturday. Still listening. Haven't heard it. You need Exhibit C that the Big Ten is better? How about Penn State? They annihilated an ACC newcomer in SMU. And now, to the ACC's credit, they didn't make too much noise. They knew what they were. I mean, Miami was making some noise for a while, but they did themselves in. There were not a lot of good teams in the ACC, so I don't have too much of a problem with them. But just showing how great the Big Ten is, and Penn State just blew their doors off. Offense, defense, pick sixes, sacks, dual running backs, efficient quarterback play. There was nothing that Penn State couldn't do on that day. And SMU was arguably the best team all season long in the ACC. It took a last-second field goal by Clemson to beat SMU in the ACC championship and steal a bid in the playoffs for the conference. But, well, Clemson got the automatic, but SMU still got in and got the bid. And, again, Clemson and SMU barely got in. And they were among the first to go. Maybe they didn't belong. Exhibit D, why the Big Ten is better than everybody else. For the next 3.5 weeks, the college football defending champion is still the Big Ten's Michigan Wolverines. I know a lot of people don't like it, but that's true. So when it comes time to pass the torch to the next champion with Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State, 3 of the remaining 8 playoff teams, Big Ten teams, I like the Big Ten's chances to claim back-to-back national championships, thus cementing the Big Ten's place as the best football conference in America, period. I'm sure the comments are coming. I'm going to see them here on YouTube. I know we're going to get the SEC guy is going to be steaming right now. There's no doubt about it. Just like the Notre Dame people hammered me for the Indiana game. I'll hear it. That's all right. Let's bring it. Big 12 guy will probably chime in a little bit. Not as much as SEC guy. Again, ACC guy is pretty quiet. They know their place. The Big Ten is the most dominating conference in all of college football. That's why I love doing this podcast here on Locked On Big Ten. And I appreciate you guys who are loyal each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Hey, if you haven't yet, be sure and subscribe so you don't miss a minute or a single podcast for Locked On Big Ten. Subscribing is free. You just click that little button down there. Doesn't require any information, and it will always be free. That way you can follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcasts. That way you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every morning. And while you're there, don't forget to peruse our website. If you're watching on video, it's talkbig10.com. You see the crawl on the bottom. And we put all of our podcasts there. In case you miss one, you want to go back for a second listen or catch up on something you missed in the previous day or two. About your favorite team in the Big Ten. It's always there. We put them right there on our website. They're both chronologically in order, and so they're dated. And we also group them by school or team. If you're an Oregon Ducks fan or Penn State fan, you just go to Penn State, boom, find all your Penn State things where we kind of led with your school that particular day. And while you're there, you can click on a link if you want to get some merchandise. If you're missing that Christmas gift that you didn't get, you wanted a Penn State hat, you wanted a Michigan t-shirt, you wanted an Oregon Duck little stuffed mascot, it's all right there on our website, talkbig10.com. So go ahead and check that out. All right, we got a lot to do. We're going bowling. In fact, we got a bowl game today, tomorrow, and Saturday. We're going to cover featuring Big Ten teams. So we'll look at Rutgers, USC, and Nebraska are all in action. We've been focusing on the college football playoffs. I got a couple teams with some bowl games that are very important to them as well and their fans. So we'll take a look at that and what we expect. And we'll also have our Big Ten Classics for the weekend. All that coming up right here in just 1 minute here on Locked On Big Ten. Watching games is fun, but if you got a little something on it, it's even more fun with FanDuel. FanDuel, you know, the NFL playoffs are right around the corner, but it's not too late to get in on this late regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250. Used to be $150, up to $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a win. You can do player props. I love betting on players and their stats and how they're going to do there. It is a thrill ride. So not only can you bet on who will win the game, you can also bet on player stats and who will score a touchdown. All that kind of stuff is right there. Just visit FanDuel.com today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget Sunday Night Football, Falcons Commanders. Interesting game. We'll have two rookie quarterbacks going at Michael Penix Jr., former Washington Husky, taking on Jaden Daniels, two rookies. I like the over in that one, 47.5. I think that's going to be like 25-24. You can do stuff like that at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Meanwhile, everydayers, again, thank you for that. Always appreciate that. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button down below and share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right, let's talk some bowls. We've been talking about the college football playoffs. The bowls still are a thing in college football. They are exceedingly difficult for these coaches because some of these teams are like a shell of their former selves from just a couple of weeks ago. Players out of the transfer portal. Coaches have been busy with signing day, with recruiting high school kids, also hitting the transfer portal, looking to bring in new players, and also, oh, by the way, practicing and game planning for these bowls. It is an impossible time of year for these college football coaches, and yet the games will still go on. So let's talk about them a little bit. Today, Thursday, December 26th, Rutgers and Kansas State in the Rate Bowl in Phoenix. Kansas State comes into this game at 8-4. They got off to a 7-1 start, and I think they were getting ready to make plans to be in the Big 12 championship and make a college football playoff run. And also the wheels fell off. They lost 3 of their final 4 games. So Rutgers, Greg Schiano, a lot of admiration for him as a coach and a program at Rutgers. And he's going to have to scheme against a dual threat quarterback that they have there in Avery Johnson. He's got 28 total touchdowns this year. Their running back, DJ Giddens, very good, averaging about 119 yards a game. He's declaring for the NFL draft. He's going to sit out. So Rutgers won't have to worry about him in this game. Look, their style is to run the ball, and try and create turnovers on defense. Sound like Rutgers? It does. It does. Although Rutgers is a bit more balanced in its offensive attack. They average 204 yards a game, 176 on the ground. Anytime we talk about running backs at Rutgers, Cal Monungai. Always talk about, we love saying his name, Cal Monungai. He's been one of the best running backs in the Big Ten for the last 2 seasons. Of course, you'll remember he was the 2023 leading rusher in the league. Quarterback Ethan Kaliakmanis, who transferred in from Minnesota about a year ago, this time last year. He's thrown every pass for the Scarlet Knights this year. And he's coming back next year too, by the way. And he's got his favorite targets, and Demir Miller and Ian Strong. So, yeah, they will throw the ball a little bit there at Rutgers. So keep an eye on that one. I expect this game to be one of the more physical bowl games that you'll see. It's going to air at 5:30 Eastern on ESPN. Good luck to Rutgers in that one. Meanwhile, tomorrow, Friday, December 27th, USC, the Trojans, taking on Texas A&M. This is a Jersey game, right? High-profile programs that will look nothing like their regular selves. This is the Las Vegas Bowl. It's 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN, and this is going to be the equivalent of a spring game, at least for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans, because he's had like at least 10 major defections in the transfer portal since the end of the regular season. And that includes the recently demoted quarterback Miller Moss and the Trojans' top 3 wide receivers and the Trojans' top 2 running backs. They're all gone. You talk about next man up or next young guy wanting to prove himself, getting ready for next year. That's what this game is going to be about for USC. Meanwhile, Texas A&M has a number of players opting out, getting ready for the NFL draft. Mike Elko and his Aggies started off the season 7-1, super red hot. They too were very much part of the playoff picture, like we were talking about with Kansas State a few minutes ago. They were ranked as high as 10th. Then they lost 3 of their last 4 games as well. So the next 2 days, we're going to see a couple of teams taking on Big Ten teams that have really faded down the stretch of the season. But here's a not so fun fact for Lincoln Riley. Did you know that his postseason record at USC and Oklahoma, 2-7? Ouch, 2-7. Saturday, December 28th, we got Boston College and Nebraska. That's the Pinstripe Bowl out at Yankee Stadium, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're on the West Coast, check this one out as soon as you wake up. It's on ABC. Boston College's season got off to a bang when they beat Florida State at the beginning by 2 touchdowns. Everybody thought, whoa, what's going on? But we've since learned that that's not so impressive because Florida State, they stunk this year. They did unravel Syracuse's season by beating them in early November. As far as the Huskers go, though, Nebraska fans, soak this in. Soak it in. You have been waiting for Nebraska in a bowl game since 2016, and now they're in. And some people are like, well, bowl games in December, not as exciting as college football playoffs. Look, no doubt. But you can see the evolution of the Matt Rule program. And the first thing was to break this bowlish streak that's been going on since 2016. Nebraska is a program that should be in the bowl every year, or a bowl every year. They get this. It's a stepping stone on the next year. Maybe we can start looking at, as Dylan Raiola develops, getting Nebraska into the college football playoffs with the 12-team field now. But this is the first step. So while some people are more or less excited about these bowl games, this is a big deal for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So I want to talk about this just a little bit. So they're in. They recently made a change at offensive coordinator, bringing in Dana Holgerson. They got arrested and finally healed quarterback Dylan Raiola, who is one of the best freshmen in the country, wrapping up his freshman year, getting ready to be a rising sophomore. There were some rumors for a while about him hitting the transfer portal. I don't think there's anything to worry about. The fact that he's playing in a bowl game tells you he's not transferring anywhere. So we're fine there with him at Nebraska. And again, this game is a major stepping stone for Matt Rule and a launching point into the 2025 season. And also their other quarterback, Heinrich Harburg, who played mostly last year, 2023, and spelled a little bit for Dylan Raiola. He's going to move to tight end. Expect to see him to play some tight end here in this bowl game because this is going to be his position into the spring and into the fall next year. He's not too good of an athlete to just keep on the field or on the sideline and keep off the field. And look, Dylan Raiola is cemented in. Another sign he ain't going anywhere, right? So Harburg's going to be playing some tight end. Look out for that. That'll be exciting. And he's a smart player. And have him on the field as being one of your 11, that's a good move. So keep an eye on that. That's something to watch in this bowl game. Meanwhile, so those are the next 3 bowl games involving Big Ten teams. As we get into next week, Iowa, Michigan, Washington, Illinois, they all have their bowl games. And then we get back into the next round of the college football playoffs. We'll see Oregon and Ohio State with their rematch. It'll be in the Rose Bowl. And Penn State moving on, taking on Boise on December 31st, right? New Year's Eve. So you have plans. You never have anything to do on New Year's Eve. You can watch Penn State football. That's right. Speaking of Penn State football, we took Christmas and Christmas Eve off. Let's catch up on a couple of things just on the record here on this podcast. And again, speaking of Penn State, their backup quarterback, Bo Perbula, who, as you well know, is well documented everywhere, here and everywhere else. He left the Nittany Lions, hit the transfer portal. It was the week of their playoff game against SMU, so that was weird. That's just the times that we're in here in college football. He landed in Missouri, so that's his spot. Going to be the quarterback in Missouri. He'll have 2 years of eligibility left. He replaces 3-year starter Brady Cook. And Missouri, by the way, will face Iowa, although Perbula won't play in that game, but he'll face Iowa December 30th. Missouri will face Iowa December 30th in Nashville's Music City Bowl. And another catch-up point while we're going over the Christmas holiday, Washington defensive coordinator Steve Belichick, we saw this coming. He's officially going to join his dad, Bill Belichick, in the same role, defensive coordinator at North Carolina, once the Huskies game against Louisville is over December 31st. The younger Belichick, he had a $1.2 million buyout to get out of that deal, but that expires the next day, January 1. All right, we're going to take a look at Big Ten Classics and all that coming up in just a minute as we continue here on Locked On Big Ten. Game Time. Get the Game Time app. This is how you get tickets to anything that needs a ticket. You can get it with the Game Time app on your phone. Couple clicks. Easy to go. All right. Talking games, Big Ten games, playoff games, Big Ten basketball, concerts, comedy shows, all that. Get the Game Time app. Getting tickets to these events has never been easier. I like that they have seat views right there. Before you go, I want that ticket. What's the view look like? You click it on your phone. It's right there. Easy to go. So you can have all that right there. They got their all-in pricing right away. No funny business. You know exactly what everything costs. And the prices are great. You got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. As we continue on Locked On Big Ten, on Thursdays, we always like to do a feature looking ahead at the Big Ten Network, what they're going to air, Big Ten Classics, highlight shows, live action, all that. We're going to put it on the screen here so you can take a look at it. If you're audio only, no problem. We'll describe it to you, what's going on. Actually, no classics this weekend, but what they're going to do on Friday, and I put like 3 placeholders here because I know they're doing it at 1 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. They're Big Ten football in 60s, where they do snap-to-snap edits, highlights, just one play right after the other. They boil a game down into 60 minutes. And at the time of our recording, we weren't sure which games they're going to put in these slots. And this is going to be all weekend long. Whether they replay any of the college football playoff games with Ohio State and Penn State, or some of these bowl games as they come, they're going to edit some of these down and put them in there. So that's what we could look forward to Friday and throughout the weekend as well. Although I didn't put it on the screen for Saturday and Sunday. I just want to let you know that's a thing. Saturday, we got Big Ten men's basketball, Maryland Eastern Shore at Maryland, a little local game, 12 o'clock Eastern time. And they will air that on the Big Ten Network. At 2 o'clock, we got women's basketball. Wisconsin is at Indiana going into Bloomington. And at 4 o'clock, more women's basketball, Penn State at Minnesota. We flip the script and head on over to Sunday. Big slate of basketball. In fact, they'll start things on the Big Ten Network at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 Pacific. Big Ten Live. It's their basketball tip-off show. Getting you ready for a bunch of Big Ten games throughout the day, breaking things down, updates, live look-ins, all that stuff. At 12, they tip things off at noon Eastern with a men's game. Indiana State at Ohio State, taking on the Buckeyes. At 2 o'clock, look for Chicago State at Illinois in a local game. 4 o'clock, more men's basketball. Winthrop is in Bloomington, taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. And at 6 o'clock Eastern time, more men's basketball. Toledo at Purdue. And then at 8, Western Kentucky is at Michigan at Chrysler Arena. And then at 10 o'clock, more women's basketball. Michigan is at USC. There'll be a big game there. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. So check that out as you're weaving in and out of some NFL football. I know you will be. But that's the schedule on the Big Ten Network this weekend. A lot of hoops for you. In the meantime, tomorrow, more bowl talk. We'll recap, see what happened with Rutgers and their bowl game today. We'll look ahead a little bit more into Nebraska and USC, and then we turn the corner and we start marching down next week's bowl games, plus the college football playoffs back in action at the end of the month, beginning January 1st as well. So in the meantime, if you want to reach out, hit me up. We said a lot of things about the greatness of the Big Ten. I want to hear from you. Big Ten fans, SEC fans, Big 12 fans, all of you right there. Hit us up on YouTube. Always love those comments. Don't forget Twitter at Talk Big Ten. You can check that out as well. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, where all of our podcasts go to rest forever right there. And you also can hit the links and buy yourself some merchandise. If you got left off at Christmas, didn't get that Indiana Hoosier hat or Ohio State sweater, get it all right there on the website, talkbig10.com. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. That really helps us out. Helps you out too, because you get everything ready to go each and every day. It helps you follow this podcast right now. You can do that on your favorite podcast app and to get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Great to be back in the flow of things right after the Christmas holiday. We're ready to go. We're excited. Hopefully you are too. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait till we talk again tomorrow. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten. Talk to you next time.